how do you see the job crisis in the country, or the opportunity, the demographic dividend we speak about? Do you think we're optimally placed to leverage it, or could it be headed towards a disaster?
No, I think you certainly have to think through things like reskilling. I think that's an important component, and I can just give you the example that we lived through in the IT industry, because the IT industry is going through a fair amount of transformation in terms of the way it delivers its own work, right? And I'll share with you something very, I think, fairly scaled that we as an industry are driving through NASSCOM, which is the technology body that represents the IT industry. Something called the Future Skills platform, which the Prime Minister actually launched last year in 2018 in February. There are three components to that, which I'm very excited about. One is in the first phase, how do you reskill 2 million of the 4 million people that are directly employed by the industry? And there's a huge focus on leveraging this platform. It's highly curated to an individual's ability to grow, to get assessed. So it's highly self-paced. Gives you huge opportunities to reskill. And the big mindset shift that has happened, Rahul, is people, at least who are employed in the technology industry, are recognizing that if they don't reskill themselves, they're going to get left behind. So this openness to recognize that people have to change with the time. So that's one big effort. The second is, how do you work with universities? And how do you work with universities to enhance the capacity of teachers, leveraging sort of human intervention as well as online intervention, so that they can be better teachers and produce better students in new age technologies, right? We're working today with 3 universities. I think over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll work with 100 universities. These are working with 4,000 teachers, who are then working with 1:30, 1:40 students. It scales quite quickly, and I think there can be a huge ripple effect of how reskilling and the mindset of reskilling sort of becomes all pervasive. And the third thing, which the government is playing a very active role in, is how do you open up this platform to citizens? So how can citizens reskill? So I think this mindset that nothing is going to change perhaps may leave you behind.
But it already happened in the IT sector. So many people in the middle of their careers suddenly found themselves left behind by technology because they'd reached a certain position in terms of salaries, in terms of designations, and there were younger engineers with more relevant contemporary
skills. But the numbers don't reflect that, Rahul. So if I look at the IT industry, we added 150,000 jobs last year. We're still a net employer. You had 150,000 direct jobs, you probably add another 500,000 indirect jobs. So the IT industry is still adding jobs. The nature of those jobs perhaps has changed. The skill required to deliver those jobs is not as relevant, that was relevant 5 years ago, may not be relevant today. It's much more focused around the new age technologies, but the IT industry, despite all the sort of the buzz that you're sharing, is a net job creator in the country today. So that tells me something.
There's an ASCOM FICCI report that came out which said that 9% of India's 600 million workforce in the next 5 years, that's about 54 million people, will be deployed in jobs that don't exist at this moment. I'm very curious to know your thoughts as the father of a young child about bringing up a child for a job in the future which doesn't exist at this moment.
Yeah. No, I think that the biggest skill, and I worry about this at all levels, is learnability and continuous learning. I think that's the most important non-technical skill if you can develop and own. That's the skill to have. So, if I try to teach my child anything, it's the ability to constantly be open. It's the people who get fixated and aren't able to change that perhaps will get left behind. So if you ask me for the one skill that I focus on, that's the one thing I look on. In fact, when I look at people that I'm interviewing at a senior level, there are 2 things that I look for. I look for learnability and I look for teamwork. Those are the 2 most important things to me, at least. Anybody who doesn't have learnability just gets fixated on ideas and then gets left behind.